This is apropos. The Iranian football team have this week criticised their treatment in the US, with the team's head coach saying they're being oppressed at the World Cup. Iran, one of 4 countries that have been hit by a travel ban, have faced restrictions, visa complications and logistical disruptions linked to the war in the Middle East. Monty Francis has the story.
As Iran played in the World Cup in Los Angeles, team officials and staff were forced to watch from across the U.S. border in Mexico. Among those whose American visas were denied, the vice president of the Iran Football Federation.
It's not a good feeling. It's a very unusual feeling to me. You can say that we all feel the same way. Our hearts are with the team, no matter where they are.
The Iranian team itself is also based in Tijuana, Mexico, crossing into the U.S. only on match days and required to leave the same day. The Trump administration has imposed travel restrictions on 39 countries. Along with Iran, 3 other nations on the list are competing at the World Cup: Haiti, Ivory Coast, and Senegal, meaning most fans from those countries cannot travel to the U.S. to see their teams play.
If Canada and Mexico are more than willing to accept people, then I think the U.S. should as well. And just not being able to be here and not experience it just sucks for them.
Despite assurances from FIFA that everyone would be welcome in the U.S., it hasn't worked out that way. World Cup referee Omar Abdul Qadir Artan of Somalia was denied entry to the U.S. after landing at the Miami airport for reasons that are still unclear. Journalists from the Middle East and Africa have also been turned away, along with a group of fans from Scotland who normally would just need an electronic travel authorization to get into the country. All of this raising alarm even at the UN.
It is troubling to see how immigration enforcement is impacting the Men's World Cup. My plea to the US authorities is that they provide safety and dignity to all players, officials and supporters.
The U.S. has also changed rules on the fly. Fans from the Democratic Republic of Congo have been banned from entering the U.S. because of an Ebola outbreak and have been unable to get refunds for their World Cup tickets.
Well, for more, we're joined now by Lindsay Krasnoff, Clinical Assistant Professor at New York University's Tisch Institute for Global Sport. Thanks for being with us on the programme this evening, Lindsay. You are a globally recognised expert when it comes to sports diplomacy. How concerned are you about these indications of discrimination or unequal treatment being doled out to certain nationalities at the World Cup? We might think, of course, of Iran or that Somali referee who was mentioned in the report who was denied entry to the United States.
Well, I think certainly it is a great concern to anyone involved or anyone vested in the tournament because banning people, it goes against the entire ethos of the tournament. The concept of the World Cup, particularly as it was originally conceived of in 1930 by then FIFA President Jules Rimet, was part of kind of the universalist approach to bring people together through sporting competition, and in that particular case, bringing the best of the sport's professional players from around the world. And through these kinds of competitions, even though they're maybe not so friendly in the heat of the match, really helping to foster better understandings and appreciation of each other by bringing each other closer together. So when we keep in mind that that's part of the original ethos of what a FIFA World Cup is supposed to be, yes, some of the stories we've seen emerging about exclusion of fans, of referees and so forth, they are very concerning for sure.
So what should FIFA really be doing then to ensure equal treatment for all of the teams and players that are taking part in the World Cup? It's obviously not doing enough, a lot of people are saying.
That is certainly true. There's, certain considerations in terms of national security considerations that have been alluded to in some of these rulings and cases, although it's not particularly clear specifically what at least at the time being, to the public. You would hope that FIFA would be doing a lot of internal negotiation, communication with the authorities involved. This is one of the things where it's very difficult for some of us from the outside to understand the extent to which these conversations have been ongoing internally.
And Lindsay, do you think that sporting events should be providing special immigration arrangements for teams from countries that are involved in active conflicts, such as Iran?
Well, so certainly that is, part of the initial agreement that was signed was that there's supposed to be free passage of movement for qualified teams who've made it to the tournament. We see that's not happening, and of course, I think particularly the situation we're in right now is a little different. It's rather historic. This is the first time that there's been a hot war between a host country and a qualified country. So we are, in many senses, in somewhat uncharted territory. There have been previous examples of when FIFA has stepped in when there's been qualms or anxieties on behalf of a host country vis-a-vis a qualified country. When England hosted FIFA 1966, one of the early teams to qualify for that tournament was North Korea. And at that time, London did not have official diplomatic relations with North Korea. And there were certainly concerns that if allowing the North Korean team in and having them compete as part of the tournament and all the symbolism that's vested therein in terms of the national anthem, the national symbols and colors of the flag that are represented in the kits that the players and the teams wear, what kind of visual imagery that gives in terms of the recognition of the team. And at the time, FIFA stepped in and said, you, as host, you have to allow all qualified nations to come and compete. There will be no discussion of moving North Korean games off of English soil. There can be discussion of, moving FIFA games entirely, the tournament off of English soil. And in the end, North Korea did go to 1966 World Cup and competed. And so we do have different examples in the past, but really right now with an open hot war, we're rather in uncharted territory.
And Lindsay, does the treatment of the Iranian team and other nationalities at the World Cup raise broader questions about politics and international sport?
Of course it does. The World Cup is one of the more unique platforms as one of the largest global sporting mega events, but also because it's all around one sport. Unlike the Olympic and Paralympic Games, which are wonderful and involve obviously so many more thousands of athletes, the World Cup, because it's one sport all at the same time, has a much more powerful punch and global clout. FIFA statistics tell us that 1 in 2 people around the world engaged in and around the last FIFA Men's World Cup final in 2022. And there's nothing quite like it. So the visibility that performing and participating at a World Cup brings to it for the national teams, but also their treatment by hosts, also by some of the local communities in which they're hosted, speaks volumes and is out there on the world stage. And I think that's where we get into where national teams and how they're interacting with the local communities are a really interesting example of how, despite the rather terse geopolitical environment this tournament is being held, in the backdrop of, we're seeing sports diplomacy play out in real time every single day. One of the more visible examples of this here in the United States has been in the university town of Lawrence, Kansas, in the Midwest, where the Algerian national team has been base camped. And this is a part of the country that does not necessarily have significant historic ties to Algeria. Yet the population of Lawrence has really welcomed the Algerian team and its delegation with open arms. There have been numerous reports in the news media and on social media and anecdotally amongst friends of how locals in Kansas have learned Algerian music and phrases and gone out and greeted and welcomed the Algerian national team. The University of Kansas pep band learned how to play the Algerian national anthem and played it during their open training session several days ago, kind of to make them feel much more at home. There's been a lot of interactions and a lot of locals who have specifically said they really knew nothing about Algeria beforehand, but this was their opportunity to come to meet Algerians and to learn a lot more, kind of their portal to the world. And that is at the heart of it what hosting can really be about. This story has gained great legs here in the US media, and the Algerian ambassador to the United States in recent days visited Lawrence, Kansas, to thank the local community there for really making the team feel so at home despite being thousands of miles away.
So these kind of big sporting events, they can change public attitudes, do you believe? But do these tournaments tend to affect at all wider immigration policies in host countries?
Affect wider immigration policies, how so?
In terms of, you're saying that individuals that at a local level might be more welcoming of people who are coming to the country, but is that going to be reflected in US policy at a federal level, do you think, given the kind of crackdown we've seen under the Donald Trump administration?
Well, there is always the hope that these kinds of interactions can have some sort of positive influence on future policy implications. Obviously, it's not going to have an instant impact or ramification. These sorts of things do take time to wind their way through the system. But, it is very much a consideration that everyday populations throughout communities in the United States and North America see these kinds of interactions. They see the kinds of goodwill that comes with it, and, the kinds of understandings that come with it that, making the international visitors seem a little less foreign, a little more like us, right? That humanization of others, that can have a lasting impact, not just on individuals and cities and towns, but also on the representatives who they elect to represent them at the federal level in government, those very representatives who are or will be implicated in creating future U.S. immigration policy.
Lindsay, thanks so much for being with us on the programme. That's Lindsay Krasnoff, Clinical Assistant Professor at New York University's Tisch Institute for Global Sport.